Welcome to the Online Success Journey podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey podcast, Patience.
Hello everyone and welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 49. Are you ready to join the clan? Today we have Tim Templeton. Tim is a veteran entrepreneur, consultant, speaker, and a best-selling author, a gifted storyteller with a unique ability to break down complex processes to simple steps. Hello, Tim.
Patience, how are you? It's so great to be on your program.
I couldn't wait to have you here. I know the clan here is anxious to hear your story. So let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my clan a little bit about your background, about what you did before you started your online business? Take us right up to the last job or business before you are online.
Sure. Well, I'm part of the baby boomer crowd, Patience. So I have been an entrepreneur my entire life, and in the 80s, I had it was all about learning and how to present and how to put together business relationships. And in the 80s, I had an opportunity to be introduced to a fellow by the name of Paul Wong in Oakland, California. Paul's grandfather raised him in Hong Kong. His grandfather had built a $6 billion empire, and they controlled all tobacco through China in Hong Kong. Paul mentored me. He actually signed and put up the money for a factory for me when I was 26, after I presented a business plan and a spreadsheet to him about what he would make if he got involved with me. So for 13 years, I was mentored by this multi-millionaire self-made man who treated me like his son.
Wow.
And they used to call me the minority because I was in Chinatown with Paul and all of his old and trusted friends. But I did that for a number of years, and I learned so much from him. After I sold the factory, and I got involved with a national marketing company that I founded. And if you wanted your product on Kmart or Walmart or any of the major retail shelves, you would come to me, and I could have your product, if I approved it, in front of every major buyer in 30 days. And so I worked with a lot of international companies that wanted distribution in the United States market. And so I did that for a number of years. Then in the 90s, I authored my first book. I got involved with James Ray on the Entrepreneur's Handbook, and I was just hooked, Patience. I mean, when I started teaching and sharing with others, and you know that because you share and you're a lifelong learner, understanding your background in this tremendous program that you have. It's really a discovery process. And the same is true for me. And so in the 90s, I authored my first book. Candidly, I thought after I was published in the book, I didn't know really what to do because it was the first book that I had authored. And I just thought all the speaking engagements and all the opportunities would come flooding in, but not quite.
Oh.
It was a good book, but I learned, and over the last 20 years after authoring 4 books, I've had the opportunity to travel around the world and meet great people like Ken Blanchard, who is the fellow that wrote The 1 Minute Manager, and Ken has over 20 million copies of his book around the world and is one of the foremost experts on leadership. And so I have had an opportunity to work with a lot of people right up through this last experience, what I'm doing this last 6 months, and kind of sum up what you had asked me to sum up. I had the Referral of a Lifetime was written a number of years ago, and it was based on all the experience of running a large coaching and training company that I did after I authored that book. I was bought out of the interest in that company, and I wrote the Referral of a Lifetime. And so what I've been doing for a number of years is training people on how to acquire referrals and how to deal with relationships and putting the golden rule first, and really learning how to do business in a way that is attractive. You work with the kind of people you want to work with. And so 6 months ago, my publisher, I had a conversation with my publisher and said I wanted to do a revised edition of the Referral of a Lifetime, and I wanted to update it and bring it current. And they were very excited because it was a top seller for them out of my publisher is Barrett Kohler Publishers out of Oakland, California. And they publish like Dan Sullivan's books, Brian Tracy books, Ken Blanchard books. They're a major business book publisher, and they're a great organization. They were very excited for me to update the Referral of a Lifetime because it's been a very good seller for them. And so I've done that. We're releasing the book will be shipped in July. And now what's happening is I'm engaging lots of new companies as a consultant and also as a speaker, and with software and solutions to help people build their relationships and at the end of the day generate more qualified referrals to help build their business. So that's the overview, Patience.
Wow, what a quite great background you have there, Tim.
Well, as an entrepreneur, and your program of unpacking how do you generate and produce an online business, it's all about entrepreneurship, and you have to be prepared to really stay the course and really figure a model that works for you. And once you do, it's very energizing. As you know, I mean, you've interviewed lots of individuals, and you've listened to the passion from many of those, and I listened to several of your podcasts in advance of getting prepared to be interviewed by you.
Okay, but everyone is always having a great story, so every story is unique and very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that makes us all unique is our story. There are certain principles, and what you just said is pure gold. It really is, Patience, because our stories are indisputable. The stories and our personal experiences make us bulletproof in front of any of our potential clients, standing on a stage. Our stories are what makes us unique. And as we take universal principles and universal steps of whatever it might be, building an online business, building a business, leadership, generating sales, it's our story and experience that makes it unique and how we share it with others, just like I did a little bit with my mentor, Paul Wong.
Wow. What is the most dangerous belief an online entrepreneur can have, Tim?
Here's the thing. I mentioned I've written a number of books, Patience. Part of the danger or the hurdle, let's call it the hurdle in an online business, because I've failed. I have failed more than I have won. This is a discovery process of really understanding. And the very first thing people fail in an online business is, number one, it's their offer. It's the offer, and who are they offering their offer to? And many times individuals are out with an offer that really it isn't as good as it could be. It doesn't work. They're not passionate about it. I've seen it many times. I've been interviewed by podcast hosts that are very bright, and when I ask, because I always ask the host, what they like most, about the podcast and the decision to become a podcast host. I've learned one particular host, I asked him who his perfect client was, his perfect client avatar, so I could refer him if I ran into anyone. And he was taken a little aback, and he said, frankly, he said, I started this program, but my perfect clients aren't the audience that I'm speaking to. It's a different group. And so, the whole idea is be targeted with your offer, whatever product or service, and where the first point of failure comes is that you don't have an outstanding product or service. So that's number one.
Wow. The Referral of a Lifetime has had a tremendous success. What do you contribute that to?
Well, first of all, I contributed. I mentioned that I founded a training and coaching business, and I attribute the success, first off, all the principles in the book were vetted with thousands and thousands of real estate agents across the country here in the U.S. And so the principles work. They were vetted. And when I left that company and my interest was bought out, I retained all the intellectual property rights that we produced inside the company to be able to use going forward. So the first reason the Referral of a Lifetime has had its success, Patience, is because the system And the processes I share just plain work. They've been vetted. But the second thing that I believe and firmly believe why the book has had so much success, it's because it's based on the golden rule. It's based on this thought of saying all ships rise with the tide, and that you should lead with a helping hand in business, and learn how to take the dollar signs off of your forehead when you're out at a networking event or dealing with your friends or associates, and really first get to understand who they are and what their needs are and how you can serve them best. And it's a golden rule. It's based on a biblical law, the Great Commandment, and the golden rule is certainly a fruit of that Great Commandment. And when you start looking at relationships in that light, and that's what the Referral of a Lifetime is based on, it's universal truth. And so people are connected to that. The storyline is my story, but the truths are universal truths that everyone can relate with. And if you subscribe to doing business this way.
Wow. Tim, we know you are successful. You've been in business for many years. So let's put man aside. How do you know you are successful?
I'm going to share something with you, Patience,
Yeah.
and your audience. Success, to me, I mean, this is my definition. We look at financial success, and I have been up and I've been down. I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years. I mean, I've been financially wiped out, and I've made 7 figures on different deals. And the number one thing for me for success, it's money, and your business success is important. It's why we get into business. We want to pay the bills. We want to build equity for our family, a better lifestyle. But true success is really based for me on the relationships and who and how I help others. I'm at a point in my life that I've already had a big house. I've had nice cars. My daughters, I have 3 daughters. They're all raised and, through school and all in advanced education now, so they're on their own. But success to me is really understanding that I'm getting up every day and I am fired up for what I do. I'm fired up to be on this call. And then understand that success is really enjoying the things that God's given you right in your own area. For me, it's my daughters. I had dedicated this last edition, and when you look at the dedication of the edition, it's to my 3 daughters who have grown my heart, and because of them, I've become a rich man. See, Patience, oftentimes, I mean, this is counterintuitive, because we all look at one another about the money we make and the status that we have. Well, I've been up and down, and I have hung out with some really wealthy people. And what I found, Patience, is they're just folks like you and I. They have the same hang-ups. They have the same problems in terms of who they are. And if you go into the right social group, they're trying to get connected as well, just like the rest of us are. And so success for me is really just being able to speak with my authentic voice, be able to go out and deal and work with people that I like, and I can make a difference. I truly make a difference with my clients and the people I work with.
Wow. What reassurance or encouragement have you got for my members of clan who are not quite there yet?
Yeah, well, I'm going to share something with you, is that if you are an entrepreneur and you are stepping out, you can do it. You need to get up, and just like I do, I look in the mirror every day and say, okay, this is the board meeting. We're going to go out and get it. And every day when you get your vision, and I talked about earlier, you get your product right. The next step is to start to build your list. And Patience, you have a list with your clan, the group that follows you. We all need to have our list in terms of who we're going to offer our product or our service, specifically online. And so the point being is get your product, get your offer, get the right mentors around you, and just stay with it every day, because this is about duplication. Let me share a quick story, and this works online or offline. When I started out in business, when I talked about that factory, the first office that I went to lease, I was in the San Francisco area at the time and lived there, and I saw a sign all over the whole Bay Area of one commercial builder that had built warehouse and office spaces all over the San Francisco Bay Area. And I needed a space, and so I called the number. And sure enough, it was a late Saturday afternoon, and he had answered. I thought I'd get one of his staff. He said, well, I'll show you the place you're looking at. So he drove out and met me at his warehouse in his office. And I looked at him, we started, and we struck a friendship up. And I asked him, I said, you know, I see your name all over. I mean, you're so successful. I mean, how did you get involved? How did you do this? Now, the lesson that he shared, and I'm going to share with you right now, is changed and stuck with me for 30 years, Patience, and it should stick with every one of your life. He said, you know, I'm not that smart. He said, Tim, what I did was, he said, I found something that works. He said, I built my first warehouse and office, and I quickly leased it out to someone like you. He said, I just did it again, and then I did it again, and then I did it again. You see, he found a product that worked, just like when I first shared, we need to get a product that works. And then he duplicated the same product. And one of the hurdles for all of us entrepreneurs is we like to chase shiny things. You know, we'll get our offer, we'll get this going, but then someone will come along with a more attractive idea or what they're doing. And we're drawn to those kind of things. We just, though, need to stay the course. And I'm talking to myself as well as I'm talking to you and the rest of our listeners on this program, is truly try to stay away from those shiny things once you've settled on your product, your service, and how you're communicating it to your online community, both online and offline. But then duplicate it, just like this fellow did. Just duplicate it. And as he said, I'm not that smart. He said, my success came from something that I found I could do well, and I just did it again and again and again and again.
Wow. We'll keep that in mind, Tim. Okay. What was your motivation to release a revised and expanded edition for that book now?
Well, great question. It really is a great question because I have authored other books in the meantime. And what happened was I was at an event, and here's the motivation. I was at an event late last year or the mid last year in May, and there was a woman, Dr. Jeannie Holbert, and she has a PhD in social networking. And she taught at LSU, the university here in the States, for a number of years. And she's an expert on social networking and an expert in social media before there was a social media. I had hired her 3 years before on a project, and we got a launch. A very bright woman, has a PhD, but very nice, very personable. And as I happened to be at this conference, and she was delivering one of the keynotes, we met afterwards and reconnected. And I told her, I said, Jeannie, I said, this is what you're sharing, social proof, is what I truly believe is the new principle in my book. And I finally, because I've been asked to edition, we're revised edition a number of years, because, you know, I've got close to 250,000 books in sale. It's in 12 languages around the world. I said, this is it. And so my motivation was this new principle that, you know, social proof, which is a byproduct of social media. I mean, social proof in its essence is McDonald's sign with, you know, over 100 billion hamburgers sold. That's social proof. And so as she defines social proof, I've used Dr. Jeannie's character. We become business partners on another initiative. And then now the fifth principle is that social proof is a 24/7 sales force, is my key motivation. Was my key motivation, and it just blossomed from there. And I'm so glad I was able to reconnect with Dr. Jeannie, and so glad I was able to really dig in this last 4 months and add 25% more content to the Referral of a Lifetime. So it really is revised and it really is expanded. And I've also incorporated. I want to incorporate all the lessons that I've learned teaching the content over the last 10 years, and so it's updated from that point of view as well. So that was my motivation, and I'm excited for the new release.
Wow. So how are we going to read it so that we can really get out all the juices we need to really move on?
Okay. Well, Patience, here's what I've done. I've talked to my publisher, and I want a special gift on behalf of you for your listeners. Is I want you to be able to download a free chapter of the book. And I've got a short code that you can text, and it's very simple, and you can get a free chapter. What I want to make available is the fifth chapter, and the fifth chapter is all about educating others that your business is generated by referral, talks about an online referral directory, which is a new product that I'm involved with. It's very exciting, but it's a solid chapter that will really have your listeners, if you read this chapter, about how to educate others that you're interested in their referral. And so how to get that, I'll give you the text code right now, and you can also add it in your show notes. It's the number is 58885, short text code. Just text 58885. And in the body of the text, simply put 2 letters, R for referral, L for lifetime, and then 5, RL5 for the 5th chapter. So it's 58885, and then in the body of the text put RL5. And you'll get downloaded that chapter. You get my contact information if you're interested to reach out or you have any questions. And the chapter is on us, and so that would be the best way.
Okay, so Clan, there will be more from Tim in a moment, but if you are finding Tim's and the journey interesting and you are ready to hear more, come and listen to the full version of interview at onlinesuccessjourney.com. If you are on online journey already, by clicking on part 2 of Tim's journey, you'll get even more tips to help you in your own business and in your daily life. And don't forget, you can access all the other online success interview podcasts on our site as well. So don't forget to check out Tim's book to download the free chapter 5 on 58885. In the body of the text RL5, and you'll get a free chapter. That's a wrap, Clan. Remember, success is a journey. Patience and Tim, join us in part 2 at Online Success Journey.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to part 1 and want to be sure you know there is a second part to this and every journey podcast at onlinesuccessjourney.com, filled with even more success tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. There are dozens of episodes only available to the members of the Online Success Journey clan. Check out the website and click on Join the Clan for more information. Patience would like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and she has a free audio gift for you at her website. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for instant access to this gift. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path, so make sure you're subscribed to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and to listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review it at Stitcher and other sites by clicking the stars or completing the ratings form, by clicking thumbs up and leaving a comment on YouTube, or liking and sharing the podcast on social media. To review the podcast within iTunes, simply open iTunes to the podcast, click on Ratings and Reviews, then write a review. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.